Hey guys, welcome to your review channel. Today we're talking about changing a cable on this garage door. So the garage door cable you can see here, okay, it's under tension, so hopefully you can see the cable. So it runs down to the bottom of the door, attaches to the door under here, goes up here, goes over this pulley. Hopefully you can see, I'll raise that up a little bit, and over that pulley system, comes around to this pulley here, underneath, and then goes over here, ties to the garage door. So the problem is that it's starting to fray, and I don't want it to break in the middle of using it. So we want to change the cables before it breaks. Some cables, these are 12-foot cables here. As you can see, I did pick up some 8-foot cables and they were too short. 12 has double loops on these. I'm not sure if I have to cut the loops or the loops will work within this. Got to change these lift cables on this 8-foot standard single car garage door, which pretty much should be double car, doesn't really matter, it should be about the same. And when it's also, you should do some oiling here, do a little bit of grease, add some grease to these things, just get things running nice and smooth before the winter sets in. All right, so let's get to it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's go. So first thing you want to do is open the garage door. You want to take the tension off the spring here. You can see you want to take all that tension away so you're not dealing with any pressures whatsoever. That's so important. Open your garage door. You can see here, now there's very little pressure on the spring, easy to work with, safe to handle. That's it's one side here, and there's the other side over here. And I'm gonna show you what's happening. So you can see here, if you can see, it's starting to fray. And what happens over time, it's gonna keep fraying and fraying, it's gonna snap. And when that snaps, the doors can go crooked, could be all kinds of issues, but you want to take care of this beforehand. So always inspect your cables. Okay, this is the lift cable, this is the safety cable. The safety cable rides within the spring, keeps the spring safe, just in case this does snap, the spring doesn't whack you in the head. This thing is heavy. So that's why we have a safety cable. So if you don't have a safety cable, make sure you add one, really important. So we're not changing that, we're gonna actually work on this main thing here. We're gonna disconnect it from the actual, from the clamp over here. We're gonna take it down and we're gonna rerun a new one. Should be pretty easy and pretty quick to do. One thing I'm gonna show you a couple tools that we do need. So a couple basic tools you really need is a hammer. This is a vice grip here. We're gonna lock the garage door in place, and a screwdriver if you need it. Now the reason why we lock the door in its place, we just don't want it to move. We wanna just get it uplifted a little bit, take the pressure totally off that. If you can see here, so you can see that's where it's connected to the garage. The little pin right over here in the back here. See if I can point to it. See? Little pin right here. And that's where it's, hopefully you can see that. And this sits on top of this here. You just take this right off and that's how it dismounts. Very easy to do. Definitely can do it yourself. You don't have to hire someone to do this. But I want to just lock the garage door up. And that way you won't have any issues with it falling in case there's any issues. So let's do that right now. Okay, so hopefully you can see I actually vice grip, put the vice grips right between the wheel, the bearing wheel here, and the door, and that's locked it up, so it won't move. So that's all set to go. We're safe to disconnect the top part and now remove the cable. Okay, so you can see here, the raised, you can see actually is also frayed over here as well. So it's definitely gonna be not too long before it does snap. And here is the S-hook I was telling you about that holds it up. And we're just gonna remove that just like that here. You can see that just coming right off. And that's gonna release all the tension on the spring. All right, and let's see how it looks. Let's turn this around and you'll see what I'm talking about. That's just gonna fall right down, just like you see here. And that is now safe to disconnect from the door. Just comes right off. It slides right off, just like you see here, and that comes off the door. The new one just wraps around there. You can see this whole cable is frayed. It's not gonna, wouldn't last very long whatsoever. And we're just gonna basically run the new one. Now, if you're not sure which way to run this, you can always look at the other side as well. Keep your eye on that one. And you can just run it, take some photos beforehand, but it's pretty simple to run these cables. It's not complicated whatsoever. And we'll just drop this down. And I'll leave a link down below where you can purchase these cables. They have different sizes. I think this will work. The 8-foot was too short. This is the 12-foot. Should be fine. I'm gonna unwind very quickly. That's all on this wire. Oh, there you go. Just like a snake. All right, let's see. Move this out of the way. Let's separate these wires. Let's see, these cables. All right, so we have 2 wires. And here you can see the little hook here. And they, like I said, they both have hooks on the end of it, and they're both equal. So it doesn't really matter which one you put on the door. It should be the same. Okay, so let's just cut off the end piece here. I don't need that. That's not going to work right because I didn't have another S-hook. So I'm just going to actually just thread it through the system itself with that little piece. But before we do that, we want to make a measurement. So I use a screwdriver and put the 2 eye hooks on one side. And then I just basically measure the cable to make sure that the same length approximately. Doesn't have to be exact, but pretty close to it to keep the tension equal up on the 2 sides of the garage. So you take it and just get an idea. Just grab that and just unwind that cable. That's how they ran it. You can see how they just did it. They just run it, make a knot, and just run it through that bracket. So let's just take that apart, and as you can see here, just moving it right along and just getting that old knot out. And that's a little bit the hard part. Just take your time and be careful not to cut your hand because it is pretty sharp. So let's take that out and just slide that piece right out. So now that we got the measurement approximate, that we want to take the new cable and just hold it within our hands and just start running and basically making a knot into that bracket. Take your time, and I bend it over really tight, and then I start just making a knot. You can see here I'm running it through. And it's tough to deal with this cable, so just take your time. Don't get frustrated. It is hard to deal with. And you can see here, gloves are super important. And just make it tight as you can, and then basically just loop it around the second hole. And that just kind of fastens it, and that secures it. So once the tension is applied with the garage spring, that's not going to go anywhere. And just run it through again, and just take your time. This is a very important part. You don't want it to unwind or get loose during operation because it'll just snap off. You don't want that. So once that pressure is applied, I should take care of that. And then we just want to run the cable. That's pretty much what you want to do is take the loop end and just run it through one of the cables. You can see here. Easy enough through the pulley. And just start running it to the garage door itself. Need a step stool, definitely need a step stool. And I had to get a side cutter to cut the cable. I'm just going to run it down the other pulley system, that's the top of the door. And then attach that piece to the door itself, like you saw before. And then you just want to kind of crimp that. And then once the door is released, the tension will take up and that won't go anywhere. It did pop off, so don't be frustrated. Just keep working with it. It'll get on there. This loop seems a little bit bigger than the old loop. Maybe they custom made it. I wasn't sure. And that's it. And just pretty much just run it to the back of the door. You can see it here on the pulley. Just take your time and run the wire, and it should be no problem. And then once you get the second one hooked up, you just slide it into the S-hook. And that's all you got to do, just like that. And just test the door. So just double check everything, make sure there's nothing snagged, nothing crossed, make sure everything is even, make sure everything is, looks like easy operation, which it looks like to me. Looks really good. Down to the door, and then we just take off the vice grips, take off the tension. You'll see that snap open. Just double check everything. Go to the vice grips, take them off. And you can see that tension got released and that door is now not going anywhere. And that's it, guys. Close the garage door. Everything worked perfectly. If you guys have any questions or any comments, leave down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It does help me out quite a bit, as always. I do appreciate that. Hope you learned how to change the cables on your garage door. Definitely recommend doing both of them. Don't do one, do both. That way there's no issues whatsoever. And that is it. It worked perfectly. And that's it. All right, guys. Appreciate it as always. I'll leave a link down below for the product if you're interested. I appreciate it as always. Don't forget that super thanks. It does help me out quite a bit. And I appreciate your time as always. And I'll see you at the next one.